Hey, good morning, everybody. March 31st. And welcome to the AM Devo with Bo O. Super stoked, of course, to have another week in the Word of God. Man, God, what a blessing it is just to open up the Bible and kind of pour through it. A lot of people don't realize just how cool that is. To be able to do that on a regular basis. But growing up the way I did, I realized how super cool it is today to be able to wake up, crack open the Bible. A lot of times people have the Bible on their phone nowadays. I kind of use an old school Bible. This is so old school. It says Holy Bible. It's the Holy Bible. I always found that cool. Meaning it's the holy books. That's the really translation. Holy books. But hope you guys are doing well today. My name's Bo Willett. You can always check out the archives at my YouTube channel at Bo Willett on YouTube. Or you can just go to bowillett.com, and there is my just personal website, kind of a catch-all for a lot of stuff that I do and have done in the past. Sometimes when you just keep going, you accumulate too much stuff, and you don't know where to put it. So that's why I have bowillett.com. So anyway, it's a French-Canadian name, a lot of vowels. If you look at that name, you'll go, whoa, there's a ton of vowels in that one. Yeah, not many French-Canadians from Southern California, but I am one of them. And anyway, now reside in the desert of Arizona. So super cool. Been out here for a while, serve as a minister at Calvary, one of the Calvary chapels in our area. So blessed to be that, to just be with people and around the Word of God. Super cool. Love this chapter. Let's get into it. Mark 14, part 1. It's a big chapter. It says, "It was now 2 days before Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The leading priest and the teachers of religious law were still looking for an opportunity to capture Jesus secretly and kill him." So the power structure is doing what power structures do. We've seen this throughout the entire Bible, that it seems like if anybody wants to share anything about Yahweh, they're going to get killed. Whether it's from Israel or whether it's from another nation. It's like the people of Yahweh just cannot win, so to speak. They're going to get killed somehow. And Jesus has already let the religious leaders know that, hey, man, you guys seek to kill me as you've killed all the prophets before you. Kind of your ancestors. That's what they did. And it says, but not during the Passover celebration they agreed, or the people may riot. Remember, the religious leaders, the power structure was afraid of all the people. What they would do if if the power structure did something too radical against Jesus, that is. And it says, meanwhile, Jesus was in Bethany at the home of Simon, a man who had previously had leprosy. And while he was eating, that must have been wild, by the way, someone healed of leprosy. I mean, that must have been a trip. And it says, while he was eating, a woman came in with a beautiful alabaster jar of expensive perfume made from essence of nard. She broke open the jar and poured the perfume over his head. Some of those at the table were indignant. Why waste such expensive perfume? They asked. It could have been sold for a year's wages and the money given to the poor. So they scolded her harshly. But Jesus replied, leave her alone. Why criticize her for doing such a good thing to me? You will always have the poor among you, and you can help them whenever you want to, but you will not always have me. She has done what she could and has anointed my body for burial ahead of time. I tell you the truth, whenever the good news is preached throughout the world, this woman's deed will be remembered and discussed. Hey, and we get to discuss it today. I find a lot of really cool applications just in this passage. I mean, there's a lot of things to study. And you can study, right? Go to my friend Dave Guzik's website, enduringword.com. Check it out. It's a wonderful commentary on the Bible. But I think the first thing I see is that, the disciples seem to be a little off mark once again. It's interesting how many times the disciples are off mark. They just don't got it down. They just don't seem to have it together. They're not seeing things properly. Jesus has already told them that he's going to die. He's going to die for the sins of the world. He's going to give his life as a ransom. But they don't seem to get it. I wonder if you don't seem to get it. And I don't seem to get it either. I wonder if we kind of sometimes just don't get it at all. Where a good deed's done, but we tend to, I don't know, we can't see the good deed. We're too, I don't know, I don't want to say dumb, but something's wrong with us. Where this woman, who knows what her background is entirely, right? Who knows all the things that has gone through her mind, the dealings with things in her life. And here, maybe the fear that she has of men in particular, you never know. A lot of women have a lot of fear of men, and rightly so. Men haven't treated women very well in the world. And so, here she is. She wants to do something precious for Jesus. She breaks this expensive perfume over him, and she wipes his feet with her hair. And very intimate act, very close act, right? A lot of people in church would be a little sketchy with this, man. There's no doubt about it. Oh my God, look at this woman. Look at her. She's a little, I don't know. That kind of attitude. Which is so sad, because what Jesus is saying is, you guys that are criticizing are the ones that are messed up. And that's so radical for us to think about. A lot of times in a church, we think we're right when we're wrong. And that's the trippy part of Christianity, Christ-likeness, is that you think you're acting like Jesus when you ain't acting like Jesus at all. Jesus isn't concerned about the cash you can get from the perfume at the moment, the cash you can get in your ministry, right? The, way you can gain more money in the church through your wonderful plans and your things, instead of just looking at how to minister to people in the present. In the present, this woman was doing something cool. She took something super expensive and she just gave it all. Like that old lady who gave that little mina, right? That little penny, if you will, into the temple. Jesus said, that's the one that's got it right. She's given out of her poverty, right? Even though she doesn't really have it, she gives it. Why? Because she wants to give God everything. Man, she sees the value of God in his Messiah. And a lot of people don't. They're like, oh yeah, well, I want to sell it for the church, and then the church can have blah, 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 blah. But, you don't even tithe. You don't even give regularly to the church. But you have these plans to do this and this and this and that. It's so convicting, right? It's like, yeah, And again, Jesus brings, this is the beauty of the Messiah. This is what I want. I mean, do you want a God who's just like, oh yeah, you're great, Bo, you're great. Oh yeah, you're so good. Oh yeah, everything you do is so good. If that's what you want, then you can throw out God and you can just go live in the world, because that's what you'll find in your subcultures. That's what subcultures are all about. It's about just getting strokes from your peers. And if that's what you want, just, I don't know, get on the golf course and just hang out with, people. And, you guys can, joke around and blah, blah, blah. And, you're great and all this, that, and the world's bad and blah, blah, that kind of thing. But when you come to the true and living God, I would imagine there's going to be some rebuke going on. And that's what Jesus does. If he really is God, I would imagine he's going to correct us a little bit. And he corrects us quite a bit. He says, leave her alone. Man, will you guys leave her alone? How many women need a man to stand up and say this? How many women need a man to stand up and say, hey, leave her alone? What are you guys doing? Why are you guys feeling like you can beat up on her emotionally? Why you can humiliate her? What's the deal with that? Leave her alone. Let her come to me. Let her, if someone's coming to God, they're coming to someone far greater than you or I. I got to be able to discern that if they're coming to Jesus, they're coming to someone who certainly can help them far greater than I can. Respectable. They're not doing what I think they should do. They're not coming the way I think they should come. Yeah, it's powerful. I'm sure this woman was a distraction to everybody else who wanted to hang out with Jesus. Oh man, this girl's got God, look what she's doing. Wasting all this money. Man, totally cool. I love it. I love Jesus, man. He's so cool, man. He's just so confronting, for the right reasons. It says, then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples, went to the leading priests to arrange to betray Jesus to them. They were delighted when they heard why he had come, and they promised to give him money. So they began looking for an opportunity to betray Jesus. Okay, so Judas Iscariot sees Jesus doing his thing, sees how he's correcting the leadership, see how he's receiving tax collectors and women of ill repute, that idea. And how this is maybe against what Judas is even thinking. Maybe he's like, hey, this isn't happening too good. Like, Jesus is losing it. Maybe he's losing his mind. I don't know. But that's how Jesus's family thought of Jesus. So I know Jesus's family thought he was a little, kind of a little strange. And they said, hey, man, what are you doing? And maybe Judas was getting some of that too. But anyway, he goes to betray. Sometimes when you just are like Jesus and you're doing your work, even though you're in the will of God and you're just doing it and seeking the Lord, some people will want to deceive you anyway. Some people will want to hurt you anyway. Talk behind your back, complain all the time about you, constant complain, constant, right? And it's like, it's so sad. Instead of just going to that person and saying, hey, man, I got an issue. Instead, it's years of complaining, years of resentment, years of blah, How long was Judas in this bitterness to move him to go to the religious leaders that they might have and for him to betray Jesus? Man, kind of an interesting thought. How has bitterness filled my heart? How long am I going to allow bitterness just to stir and stir and stir? Fester. On the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb was sacrificed, Jesus' disciples asked, where do you want us to go and prepare the Passover meal for you? So Jesus sent 2 of them into Jerusalem with these instructions. As you go into the city, a man carrying a pitcher of water will meet you. Follow him at the house he enters. Say to the owner, the teacher asks, where is the guest room? Where can I eat the Passover meal with my disciples? He will take you upstairs to a large room that is already set up. That is where you should prepare our meal. So the 2 disciples went into the city and found everything that Jesus had said, and they prepared the Passover meal there. I love it. Jesus has everything planned out. Hey, you just walk in step with what I've already kind of got for you. I've already laid out the path. You just kind of go and do it. But you'll see that the heavy lifting's already been done. I love that about Jesus. Hey, Bo, go serve me. but the heavy lifting's been done. You just go walk in faith, taking a step, one step at a time, kind of thing, which is awesome. And it says, in the evening, Jesus arrived with the 12 disciples, and as they were at the table eating this Passover meal, Jesus said, I tell you the truth, one of you eating here will betray me. And greatly distressed, each one asked in turn, am I the one? That must have been freaky, huh? Am I the one? Am I the one? Who am I? Greatly distressed, each one asked in turn. And he replied, it is one of you 12, the one who is eating from this bowl with me. For the Son of Man must die, as the Scriptures declared long ago. And how terrible it will be for the one who betrays him. It would be far better for the man if he had not been born. As they were eating, Jesus took some bread and blessed it. So when Jesus taught from the Bible he had, the Old Testament. This is what was said. That's why it's so important just to know your Old Testament. Hey, if you've never gone through it, hang out with me and we'll go through it again soon enough. And it says, as we were eating, Jesus took some of the bread and blessed it. And when he broke it in pieces and gave it to the disciples, saying, take, eat, for this is my body. So we see that the communion service that we do in a church is actually a part of the Passover meal. Isn't that interesting? So it is just a little tiny section of the Jewish festival of Passover. And then he took the cup of wine and gave thanks to God for it. He gave it to them, and they all drank from it. And then he said to them, this is my blood which confirms the covenant between God and his people. It is poured out as a sacrifice for many. I tell you the truth, I will not drink wine again until the day I drink it new in the kingdom of God. Then they sang a hymn and went out to the Mount of Olives. Some beautiful things to study about this time of the Passover, the Seder, the meal that was celebrated with Jesus and his disciples. There's a lot of richness here, for sure, to go into like a Bible study. But I love it that Jesus, even in a time of distress, is with his disciples. He shares with them. He's vulnerable with them. He lets them know. And this reminds me of something today, that I just can't walk alone. Too many of us walk alone on the planet. When something's coming up, when there's distress, when there's danger ahead, when there's trial, it's easy for us to just, go into a shell instead of reaching out, having people pray for us, letting people know what's going on in our life. The trials, the tribulations, the temptations, the failures, all those things. Even though it opens us up to a lot of risk, because people can hurt us when they know such about us. It really is the way to go. It really can build a lot of strength in those numbers with those people who share the same things, the same distresses, the same trials, the same difficulties, those kind of things. And you don't need to have the exact same ones. I mean, let's face it, how many of us have really been nailed to a cross, right? I mean, not many of us, not maybe any of us. But, we are to count ourselves, in a sense, crucified with Christ. We are to have that same mind of Christ, right? To be able to pick up our cross and follow Jesus. We should know what it's like in our mind to go through times of distress, but so many of us don't want to go there in our mind because of anxiety, depression. But usually it's because we do things alone, right? When we're at church on Sundays and Wednesdays, or for me, Tuesdays, or I'm with church Thursdays. I'm with church a lot. It's good to have those relationships where you can talk and pray and open up to those vulnerabilities. I love that Jesus does that at this meal. Hey, this is what's going to happen. And this is the new covenant, man. There's something, I know it doesn't seem like it, but God works all things together for good to those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. That's true for Jesus too. He was the Messiah. He was called according to the purpose of the true and living God. He would be fully man, fully God, intertwined on the planet, and that humanity part, would trust in God for deliverance, just as we need to trust in God for deliverance. So I find that cool. Don't be alone. And it says, on the way, Jesus told them, all of you will desert me, for the scriptures say, God will strike the shepherd and the sheep will be scattered. Man, what a bummer. Your mentor says to you, hey, by the way, you guys are all going to run. You're all going to fail. You're all going to go away. And Jesus shows him a passage of scripture from the Bible he had that talks about that. But after I raised from the dead, I will go ahead of you to Galilee to meet you there. Hey, I'm going to raise from the dead. I mean, what a radical thing. Hey, by the way, I'm going to be killed, but guess what? I'm going to be raised from the dead. It's going to be amazing. I'll meet you in Galilee. Okay? 1, 2, 3, break. Kind of thing. I think we'd all be a little blown away by that, No, but it's good to, again, he's letting everybody know. He doesn't just hold it all in. He's letting them know what's happening. And it says, Peter said to them, even if everyone else deserts you, I never will. But Jesus replied, I tell you the truth, Peter. This very night before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times that you even know me. No, Peter declared emphatically, even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you. And all the others vowed the same. So notice that they all vow the same. They all say, hey, we're never going to, we're going to die with you, Jesus. We're so strong. We're so strong. But yet we found out that they were really weak. They really didn't have that ability in their own flesh, to do it, to really follow the Lord, to the cross, so to speak, that they were going to flee. All that fear was going to creep up in them. All that insecurity all that fear of man was going to just move in them, right? And cause them to run. Sometimes we act boldly, like, oh man, Jesus, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And really, we're not there. Really, there isn't a move of grace that has dealt with our fear or dealt with our insecurity. And that's why a lot of times I'll harp on myself of, Bo, what is the insecurity in your heart? What is the fear in your heart? And then bring that to God. And God, I need grace to remedy this illness of the fear of human beings, right? This cancer of the fear of dying. I need remedy for that. May I trust you that you are the resurrection and the life, and that you have promised that those who trust in you will never die. Lord, give me the grace to walk by faith, not by sight. That kind of idea. Instead, Peter, of course, just, man, no way. That's never going to happen. Oh, yeah? And it says, they went to the olive grove called Gethsemane. And Jesus said, sit here while I go and pray. And he took Peter, James, and John with him and became deeply troubled and distressed. And he told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. Man, when someone says, hey, there's really a trial coming up, what do? Do you kind of go, oh, okay, and then you just kind of, whatever, and forget about it? Last night I had a moment where I had a friend tell me something that's going on in this world that was really gnarly. And I couldn't sleep. There's no way I would just go to bed. I couldn't just go to bed. And I'm sure you're like that too, where when someone you care about is going through it, it's hard to fall asleep, right? It's kind of tough because you want to, pray for them. You want to intercede for them. Kind of thing. Jesus is, really going through this emotional turmoil, knowing that the cross looms not far ahead. And it says he went on a little further and he fell to the ground and he prayed, if it were possible, the awful hour awaiting him might pass by him. Abba, Father. Isn't that beautiful? Daddy. He says, Daddy, he cried out, everything is possible for you. Please take this cup of suffering away from me, yet I want your will to be done, not mine. I love how we see Jesus wrestling in his humanity, fully human, fully dealing with that road to the cross, that road of suffering, and that he cries out to his Father, Daddy. Amazing. Maybe this is a good example to us of what to do when we go through our stressful moments, when we go through our times of trial. Maybe we need to call out Dad, Pop, Father. I don't want to go through this, but nevertheless, not my will be done, but yours be done. Notice that Jesus doesn't say, hey, God, you got to do this. You got to do that. I'm the Son. You got to treat me this way. You got to treat me that way. He knows the mission. And he knows before the glory, there's suffering. He knows what the scriptures have said for thousands of years, that there would be this moment, this infusion of God and man on the planet to remedy, to redeem humans because they are lost as lost can get, absolutely impotent. And yet, in that humanity, we see Jesus just crying out to Dad. You know how it is when a kid is just crying out to Dad? Dad, 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 Dad. So sad, right? Daddy, Jesus is doing that. It's just unbelievable, right? Beautiful. Do I cry out to God? Or do I cry out to mankind? How many of us cry out to the wrong object? Sometimes we find out early on in life that when we cry out to our parents aren't there. And a lot of times when we cry out to friends, people that we hope that are there but aren't there, we get let down. But notice the example of the Messiah. He teaches us to cry out to God. He does what the psalmists say, right? Unto you I cry out. Hear my cry, O Lord. Attend unto my prayer. To the ends of the earth will I cry unto thee, and when my heart is overwhelmed, please lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Man, that's what Jesus does. Isn't that cool? So maybe I need to cry out for emotional stability. Maybe I need to cry out to the right object, the one who can truly help, truly heal. And then he found the disciples, and he found them asleep. And he said to Peter, Simon, are you asleep? Couldn't you watch with me even 1 hour? Keep watch and pray so that you will not give into temptation. For the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. So true. Spirit is willing, body weak. Temptation comes to what? Fall asleep. It's a temptation. Hey, don't be vigilant. Don't be in prayer. Don't seeking God. It's weird. We don't think about that as being a sin. We don't think of that as being a temptation. The temptation not to pray. Isn't that interesting? Jesus says, hey, watch that you will not give in to temptation. Jesus just gets done telling Peter that, man, you're going to deny me 3 times. And what does Peter do? Instead of praying, God, help me not fall away. Help me not fall away. Help me not disown Jesus. Help me not move away from the rabbi. the teacher. Instead, what is he doing? Whew, I'm pooped. I had too much wine at Passover, and he's tired. And Jesus says, temptation's right there, man. Right there. Instead of seeking the Lord, we just want to take a nap. And sometimes that's the temptation, is to sleep and not pray. And so we see that happening. It says the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Ooh, that body. It just wants to do what it wants to do. Then Jesus left them again and prayed the same prayer as before. When he returned to them again, he found them sleeping, for they couldn't keep their eyes open and they didn't know what to say. A third time. They all say that they're going to hang out and be with Jesus, and they all go to bed. They all fall asleep. So sad when we fall asleep, right? Where we're not alert, we're not vigilant, and we buy into temptation. It's a bummer that we go that direction. And it says, when he returned to them the third time, he said, go ahead and sleep. Have your rest, but know the time has come. The Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Up, let's get going. Look, my betrayer is here. So Jesus says, okay, you want to sleep? Go sleep. And then of course, that's when everything starts happening, right? You guys want to go do your thing, but it ain't going to be just as peaceful as you think it's going to be, and that's where we'll end today, part 1 of this long chapter. But, it's kind of a sad ending, of course. You kind of wish the story was that everybody was like, yeah, Jesus is going to the cross and this is going to be great and the redemption of the world. But no, he would be rejected, despised by many. Even those closest to him, aren't really able to give him comfort. He cries out to his dad and says, man, Dad, do I need you? Yeah, we will be let down on this planet. Our heart fleshes will fail, but God is the strength in our portion forever. It's great to see that we have a God who not only created everything, but we have a God who shows us the way. He enters into our planet, enters into our world with a body that we have, and shows us what to do in the most distressing times. And I love that. Do I get with people, for help? And do I cry out to God for help? Both things are important in our life. To have people around us, or are you guarded all the time? Do you have a good crew that you can get with and talk about things with? And then do you have, are you pointing your utmost issues and emotions upward to the Lord? Is he really your dad? That kind of idea. He's your dad, man. And he's got you. Wow, cool stuff. So good chapter. Hey, happy Monday. March 31st, last day of March. We're hitting April Fools tomorrow. So we'll talk to you guys later, okay? Bye-bye.